I'm sitting in my car. My son, a high school senior, one of my sons, a high school senior. And I was sitting here watching children, young adults, watching the young adults as they come into the school. And so he has a mandatory senior practice for graduation. And so that, and he starts his college classes today as well. So we don't have a car and a license and all that good stuff yet. So even though I was exhausted, I think I got home around 4 o'clock this morning, um, from getting everything put up from the yard sale. I said everything, but look behind me, y'all. Y'all see my car? Um, yeah, we had a U-Haul. We weren't putting everything in this vehicle. I just got my personal stuff in here because my husband thought it was okay to put my personal stuff out at the yard sale. So I'm sitting there going around shopping at my own yard sale. Anyways, I was sitting here thinking about the kids, and um I was looking through my old pictures because my storage um was maxed out. But I was looking through old pictures and I realized that I had this question in my phone. And the question was, what is the greatest moment of your life? And then I'm sitting here looking at students still arriving for senior day, for graduation practice, mandatory graduation practice. And I'm looking and wondering how many of them have goals, first of all. How many of them are going to be able to obtain those goals? What is the process like? What are they going to go through? And I remember when I graduated high school, I knew I was going off to college. It was kind of rocky for a minute because I didn't have my all my tests taken and all that stuff. But end up going to college and then still coming out and kind of thinking, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And then started working and realized within a couple years that okay, this isn't it. And so I went back to school to get my master's degree. But I'm bringing all this up because I'm just looking at the young people as they're walking, and I'm like, how many of them are gonna be successful, and what are they gonna do with their lives, and how many of them will change careers and all these things? Because most people, particularly today, are changing careers like we used to change baby diapers. I'm being a little funny, but um, I do wish our young people success. And I too um am on a journey trying to figure out what my next steps are. But back to the question, it is, what does the best day of your life look like? And I was sitting here thinking, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've lived the best day of my life. As a matter of fact, my godmother and I were talking yesterday, and she said the very thing. She was just like, when you've really reached the best day of your life, when you are totally just in love with yourself and you are at peace and you just, um, I still don't even have the words yet because I have not reached the best day of my life, but I am striving for it, just like the young people. Like I said, I'm at my son's school. He has senior graduation practice today. And so many people have no idea what it is that they want to do. And for years, most of my life, I just turned 50 last month. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And most people, excuse me, most people don't. And I actually know that to be true because I used to work with people once they were unemployed. And so I would have resume classes, interview classes, and I would always ask people, what do you want to do? And most people did not know what they want to do. Could not tell you what they enjoyed doing. They could not tell you what they were good at. And so that's one of the things that I love doing. I love career development. I love helping people figure out what it is they want to do, which is funny, by the way, because for years I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think this year is all coming together and I'm finally at 50 Not just figuring out what I wanna do, and this is one of the things that I wanna talk about, figuring out what I was purposed to do, figuring out who I am, and I think that's the problem a lot of times, particularly with I won't say with youth, I think that's just the problem, is we never stop long enough to figure out who we are. We come straight out of high school, we go right into the workforce, right into college, right into parenthood, and we never pause. We never take a break to say, "Who am I?" And then by the time we think we're ready to, because we're so ready to get out our parents' house. I was talking to my son this morning. He's not even 18 years old yet, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about getting an apartment." And I'm like, "Don't do that. Don't do that." The cost of living is so high right now, unless like you and 20 of your friends are gonna live together, like you can't even afford housing in our city. So like literally, if you're moving downtown, you're gonna pay somewhere between $3,000, $4,000. If you're just moving on the outskirts, you're still gonna pay close to $1,500 a month. And we're talking about 17, 18, 19, 20 year olds. So I was trying to just tell my son that slow it down. You don't have to rush, you know. He was like, well, maybe me and some of my friends. And I'm like, how stable are your friends? Like, how stable are they? What type of income do y'all have? What is your life goal? So, um, I am kind of fortunate and unfortunate at the same time because I have children in every age group. My youngest is 9, and as a matter of fact, last year was funny because I had one child in elementary, one in middle, one in high school, and one working adult. And so my mind normally we forget like we forget how it was to have a small child, and we forget once they get older, we forget all those other stages. And that's why I said I'm kind of blessed, but it's a lot because different ages require different. I'm learning, and my kids are teaching me, particularly my oldest. And by the way, Money, I know you're not watching, but I love you. Let me tell you guys something. I know I'm switching subjects, but everything is the same because it's life. It's life, and people don't really talk about real, genuine life sometimes. And so, what I'm talking about is my question to myself today was, when, how did I have it? When will you know what's the happiest day of your life? I think that's what it was. What is the happiest day of your life? So, I have not reached the happiest day of my life yet. I've, been married, love my husband, can't stand him most of the time. Um, I love my children, love them. Half of them I can't stand half of the time. And y'all would have to know I really do love my family. Like, to me, that is success. And but it'll also pull you in so many different directions sometimes, particularly emotionally, physically, financially, that you just like, you know what? I can't. I can't. So but I'm learning so much in this season, and I'm taking everything that I'm learning and I'm putting it in a book. And I'm actually, to me, I feel like Hansel and Gretel. I'm leaving breadcrumbs for myself because for the day when I'm just like, okay, God, I can't. And I can go back and I can read and I can follow the models and the processes, because when I tell you this is not your typical book, um, I've prayed about it. I've allowed the Holy Spirit just to help guide and lead me through this process because I didn't have the strength, nor did I have the capacity. And so I'm learning about marriage. I'm learning about parenting. I'm learning about not just a job. I'm learning about not career development, purpose. That's the problem. A lot of times we worry about the job, but who am I? That's what I'm learning, who I am. And so I told you a minute ago, I finally figured out who I am. It took me 50 years to do it, but I thank God because some people never get to that point. But I'll share a little bit with you guys of who I am. I am one of the most caring, compassionate people in the world. And I care not just about my children, my family, my community, but I care about our society as well. And so this book is really looking at life, and a lot of times people break life down and they say, oh, you're just a mother. No, I'm not just a mother. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am an entrepreneur. I'm all these various things, but I'm looking at myself and the struggles and the battles and the all the things that I've been through. And I'm trying to not just process them, but come up with a system and a structure to actually help myself. Because for me, what I realize is without structure, there is going to be chaos. And I've had, there's going to be chaos. So the title of my book is Pause, Identity Under Pressure. And I have felt a lot of pressure in these various roles and parts of my life. But I'm happy to say, even though I'm still on the journey, and I think we'll always be on the journey until the day that we die. But as long as I'm on this journey, I'm gonna keep on striving to be a better version of myself. I don't know if anybody had a chance to watch yesterday's episode. I was sharing a minute ago. My car, I got some crates. All this stuff here behind me is my personal stuff. I had a yard sale yesterday, and it taught me a valuable lesson. I was out at the yard sale. We had a, just a little bit of everything at the yard sale. A gentleman walked across the street. He lived across in some apartments. He walked across the street, and there was a big old confrontation. And the confrontation was over my stuff. And I was just like, how entitled are you that you can tell someone else what they should charge for their stuff? And so, but I'm looking back at the video this morning, and I remember I was so upset. I mean, so upset. I was stuttering, my legs were shaking. I just could not believe that this happened. As a matter of fact, I've been having flashbacks this morning because it was just traumatic. I didn't even realize at the time how it was just too much. It was too much. And that's kind of what the book is about, is what do you do when life is just too much? And what I'm learning to do is to slow down. I'm learning to pause. I'm learning to slow down because honestly, we can't even think clearly when we are under stress, when we are under attack, when we are overwhelmed. You can't even think clearly. So I'm learning to slow down and start trying to process and make better decisions, make good decisions. So that's just a little bit about the book. I'm going to answer my own question and tell you guys who I am. Um, I'm not just an author. Um, I'm not just an author, but I feel like I am. I feel like I am called, and part of my purpose is to help other people find their purpose and their calling. And all my life experience has led to this moment. I don't know who you are, if you're watching, you got a purpose too. And that's what I'm called to do, is to help people highlight, figure out who they are, and to take all these things that you've been through, take everything that you've been through and use it, because it's already everything that we were supposed to have is already in us. And those experiences, even those trials, as a matter of fact, I'm noticing at 50, the more trials and things that I've gone through, they have taught me. That's the reason I'm able to stand today. And again, I say that regarding myself, but that's the reason you're still standing today, because you've been through things, and hopefully, you've learned from those things. So taking the experience you have and figuring out how you can use it, that's one of my giftings, is helping people connect that dot to figure out how to use the gifts that they already have. So many times people think to themselves that, hey, and I know because I've talked to so many people. I told you in my last role, I was a coordinator and facilitator, and I helped people who were unemployed. And I would do resumes and interviews and soft skills training. And so many adults, even older than me, had no clue who they were and what they were called to do. So many people who were younger than me, with all the ambition in the world, and after being told no, 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 or not being able to figure out, not be able to be compensated for their worth, so many people felt hopeless. And so that's who I am. That's what I'm called to do, is to help people recognize their gifts, recognize those skills. Because I promise you, everybody got one. I don't care who you are. You could tell me anything, and I could find, and not even searching hard, if we listen, and a lot of times we don't listen, we're so busy going. And that's why I was talking about parenting earlier. That's why I was talking about marriage earlier. We get pulled in these different roles in our life and we forget about who we are. We forget who we are. And so we're out here working, trying to make money, which we all have to do, but then we forget the gifts that we have. Like I don't cook. I don't cook. Can I cook? I'm pretty good. I'm actually pretty good at anything I try. But I don't like cooking. That is I have no desire to cook. I don't like cleaning. I'm not domesticated. I don't like none of that. And so that would not be a role that I would assume because I just don't enjoy it. And saying that, that's one of the things that I encourage people to do is find what you enjoy doing. And not only find what you enjoy doing, find what you enjoy doing naturally. If you are naturally always doodling and always sketching, it's probably not just a hobby. I'm not saying it has to be your career. I'm not saying leave your job to go do it. What I am saying is maybe you should pursue, and one of the things people often forget about, education is important. Now, do you have to have an education to be the best culinary um or the best artist or the best? No, you don't. But a lot of times you're going to need that certification, that license, so that other people will recognize your gifts and abilities. That doesn't mean you're not authentic and you're not the real deal. It just means that a lot of times you're going to need that education, and a lot of times people forget and they bypass that step, and they're wondering, why am I not successful in this area? So education is not the only way. I truly believe life experience, if you really want to know my opinion, I believe life experience, but I would pair that with education as well. So when you get that degree, now you can ask for more. And a lot of times people don't have the confidence to ask for more because they feel like they have to have that degree. So that's one of the reasons I do encourage that. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, if you're just joining me, I'm sitting here. Here he comes now. My son, he's a high school senior, but he's also starting college today. So I had to be are y'all finished? One second. Okay. So we are here at graduation and I'm gonna go because he has to get, I know, son, I'm on live. So I'm gonna, let me start right fast. I'm gonna go and you guys have a great day. Thank you.